Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to continue reading from Sri Isopanishad. We are on mantra 17. We are already reading the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I'll just quickly read the translation. Let this temporary body be burned to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you. So the devotee is praying that at the end of life, he wants to go back home, back to the spiritual world. He does not want to take another material body. He wants to have a spiritual body. So we have been hearing from Srila Prabhupada from the purport. We continue reading. Would somebody like to read?
Me after Shilpa. Anybody is interested in reading?
Sonia, you
Okay.
read?
Yeah, okay,
Thank
okay,
you.
no problem. नहीं मेरे को कोई और गुस्सा ना हो जाए किसी का मन हो पढ़ने के लिए. So I just ask formally. Okay. Unlike the simple animals who have no developed mind, the dying human being can remember the activities of his life like dreams at night. Therefore, his mind remains surcharged with material desires, and consequently, he cannot enter into the spiritual kingdom with the spiritual body. The devotees, however, develop a sense of love for Godhead by practicing devotional service to the Lord. Even if at the time of death a devotee does not remember his service to the Lord does not forget him. This prayer is given to remind the Lord of the devotee's sacrifices, but even if there is no such reminder, the Lord does not forget the service rendered by his pure devotee.
So what happens is at the time of death, it seems the whole life flashes in front of us. You know, it's like a movie, very fast. The whole life flash, one can see it. So if one has not practiced devotional service, one is of course going to think only of material things at the time of death. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever one thinks of, that state he's going to achieve in the next life. So of course, if one is only engaged in material activities, one will get a material body. But if anyone is engaged in devotional service, here Prabhupada is putting, however, develop a sense of love for Godhead by practicing devotional service to the Lord. So the devotees who are constantly engaged in devotional service to the Lord, then of course they will remember the Lord at the time of death. And even if they are unable to remember the Lord will come to them. Just like Bhishma Dev. You know, this is Bhishma Panchak going on, the 5 days. So Bhishma Dev, he was lying on the bed of arrows. He could not go to meet the Lord at Hastinapur. He was incapacitated, couldn't walk, couldn't move. But the Lord came to him. Krishna came to him just so that Bhishma Dev could see him while he's leaving the body. This is the loving exchange between God, between Krishna and his devotee. Bhishma Dev was a pure devotee of the Lord. He's one of the Mahajans. And he couldn't go, but God came to him. So this is what in this mantra, of course, the devotee is praying to the Lord that you please remember me, you know, when I'm giving up my body, you please don't let me take another material body. Kindly give me a spiritual body.
The Lord clearly describes his intimate relationship with his devotees in Bhagavad Gita 9.30 to 34. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. O son of Partha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, vaishyas, merchants, as well as Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. How much more this is of the virtuous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engaged in loving service unto me, engage your mind always in thinking of me, because my devotee offer obeisance to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me, and surely you will come to me.
So here Prabhupada is putting the most confidential knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 chapters. The first six chapters, they are dealing with the Karma Yoga. The last 6 chapters are dealing with Gyan. The first 6 are with Karma and with Dhyan. Both of them are described. In last 6 is of Gyan, and the middle 6 chapters are of Bhakti. So, anything that is very precious, we like to preserve it nicely. So Krishna has put Bhakti in the middle of this Bhagavad Gita. And in the middle of these 6 chapters, the 9th chapter is the middle. So that's why it's called the most confidential knowledge. What's the most confidential of Bhagavad Gita? Here Krishna is saying, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed me, surely you will come to me. Man manabhava mad bhakto mad yajimam namaskuru. Chapter 9, text 34. This is the most confidential knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is saying, become my devotee. He says, anyone who takes shelter of me, no matter which family they're coming from, which gender, which community, doesn't matter. They will come back to me. They will attain the supreme destination, come to the spiritual world. And Krishna is telling Arjuna, you declare it, Arjuna, because people may think, oh, Krishna can go back on his word. Krishna can break his promise, maybe, just as seemingly Krishna broke his promise by picking up the chariot wheel to charge to Bhishma Dev to protect Arjuna, although he didn't break his promise, but seemingly. But that also because it was Bhishma Dev's desire to see the Lord in that form. Bhishma Dev has virya ras with Krishna. He is completely in love with Krishna. So to fulfill Bhishma Dev's desire to protect Arjuna, Krishna picks up the chariot wheel. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you declare it, because everyone will, trust Arjuna's words. He's such a capable, such a qualified personality. So Krishna is saying, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So anyone who takes shelter of Krishna, no matter what position he is, Krishna takes care of him. Krishna is saying that even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he's to be considered saintly because he's properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. So there may be some inclination, some previous, some scars, maybe there. But because he's taken shelter of Krishna, he's engaged in devotional service, all these previous conditionings will go away. Krishna will purify him, and Krishna gives complete protection to his devotees.
Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakura explains these verses in this way. One should regard a devotee of Krishna to be on the right path of the saints. Even though such a devotee may seem to be Rudarachara, a person of loose character, one should try to understand the real purport of the word Sudarachara. A conditioned soul has to act for double functions, namely for the maintenance of the body and again for self-realization. Social status, mental development, cleanliness, austerity, nourishment, and the struggle for existence are all for the maintenance of the body. The self-realization part of one's activities is executed in one's occupation as a devotee of the Lord, and one performs actions in that connection also. One must perform these two different functions along parallel lines. Because a conditioned soul cannot give up the maintenance of his body, the proportion of the activities for maintenance of the body decreases. However, in proportion to the increase in devotional service, As long as the proportion of the devotional service does not come to the right point, there is a chance for an occasional exhibition of worldliness. But it should be noted that such worldliness cannot continue for long, because by the grace of the Lord, such imperfections will come to an end very shortly. Therefore, the path of devotional service is only right path. If one is on the right path, even an occasional occurrence of worldliness does not hamper one in the advancement of self-realization.
So Prabhupada is explaining, we are conditioned souls, we are inside the material body, we are inside the material world. So Prabhupada is explaining how Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains. What Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a great acharya in our line. He is the spiritual master of the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. So we can see we are hearing this transcendental knowledge in the disciplic succession in Parampara. So the material life and spiritual life goes together like parallel lines. We cannot give up our material life because we are in the material body. But because we are spirit souls, we also have spiritual duties. We have a duty towards God. We are part and parcel of God. We have duties for self-realization. So we have material duties, we have spiritual duties. So initially, both of them have to go hand in hand, parallel to each other. Parallel to each other. Then, proportionately, as one increases devotional service, one can proportionately decrease the material activities. There is a fine balance. So one has to find this balance. And then as long as we don't come to this balance, we are going to be materially inclined. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying the devotee, he's trying, he's trying, he's doing his devotional service, but because the material inclinations are there, so there sometimes the material inclinations will become evident. One will be able to see such imperfections. But because he is on the path of devotional service, these imperfections will also go away. Prabhupada would explain that, when the fan is on, it's going on at good high speed, but you disconnect it from the electric power. So the fan still goes on for a certain time, but gradually, the speed reduces and it will come to a stop at one point. So similarly, one's material activities, that's what happens when one takes up spiritual activities. Gradually, in proportion, the material activities will end. But this does not hamper, this does not, spoil one's spiritual progress, because it's natural. Like a child is learning to walk. Now, we can't expect the child that one day he's crawling and the second day he's perfectly walking. The child gets up, takes help of some structure, some table, or some parent holds their hands, walks few steps, falls down, walks, falls down. But he's practicing. Eventually, he'll be able to walk and even run. So this is what is being said about the devotee.
The facilities of devotional service are denied the impersonalities because they are attached to the Brahma Jyotir feature of the Lord. As suggested in the previous mantras, they cannot penetrate the Brahma Jyotir because they do not believe in personality of Godhead. Their business is mostly world jugglery and mental speculation. Consequently, the impersonalist pursue a fruitless labor as confirmed in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 12.5.
So the impersonalist, one wants to merge with God, one wants to merge in the Brahman, one wants to become God. For him, he does not have a desire to engage in devotional service. So he cannot engage in devotional service. All depends on our desire. Krishna sees the desire and he gives us the facilities accordingly. So, because someone wants to merge into the Brahman effulgence, then one will stay there temporary. One is not able to understand God as a person because one has no desire to understand God as a person. Just like, if I don't want to know about you, I just make my own assumption. You are like this, you like this, and this is how it is. But I'm not taking a genuine effort to know about you. So I'll continue thinking about you in that way. Or you may continue thinking about me in that way. But if there's a genuine desire to know someone, then there's further research done. So similarly, the devotee has genuine desire to understand God, understand absolute truth. So he engages in devotional service, whereas someone who doesn't want to, then he's there on the Brahma Jyoti platform. But that's a temporary platform. It's not permanent because the permanent situation of the soul is always engaging in devotional service to God.
All the facilities suggested in this mantra can be easily obtained by constant contact with the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Devotional service to the Lord consists essentially of 9 transcendental activities. First, hearing about the Lord. Second, glorifying the Lord. Third, remembering the Lord. Fourth, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Fifth, worshipping the Lord. Sixth, offering prayer to the Lord. Seventh, serving the Lord. Eighth, enjoying friendly association with the Lord. And ninth, surrendering everything unto the Lord. These 9 principles of devotional service, taken all together or one by one, help our devotee remain constantly in touch with with God. In this way, at the end of life, it is easy for the devotee to remember the Lord. By adopting only one of these 9 principles, the following renowned devotees of the Lord were able to achieve the highest perfection. 1. By hearing of the Lord, Maharaja Prakshit, the hero of Srimad Bhagavatam, attained the desired result. 2. Just by glorifying the Lord, Sukadeva Goswami, the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, attained his perfection. 3. By praying to the Lord, Akrura attained the desired result. 4. By remembering the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj attained the desired result. 5. By worshipping the Lord, Prathu Maharaj attained perfection. 6. By serving the lotus feet of the Lord, the goddess of fortune Lakshmi attained perfection. 7. By rendering personal service to the Lord, Hanuman attained the desired result. 8. Through his friendship with the Lord, Arjuna attained the desired result. And 9. By rendering everything he had to the Lord, Maharaj Bali attained the desired result.
So Nava Anga Bhakti, the 9 limbs of devotional service, it's called, what we are performing. So the first is, anyone?
Hearing.
Yes, that's right, hearing. Hearing from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, hearing from the scriptures. So hearing about the Lord, just by hearing, one can get perfection, one can get their own spiritual body, one can revive one's love for God. And the devotee who achieved perfection in this way by hearing is I marked it on the screen.
Maharaj Parikshit.
Yes, Maharaj Parikshit. 7 days, 7 nights, he heard Bhagavatam, no sleeping, no eating. He had such great eagerness to hear. He was completely engrossed in hearing. And when we are reading Bhagavatam, we see how he's asking the questions. He's not like, oh, enough now. But how he's getting so engrossed. He's asking questions and questions. So by hearing, he attained perfection. Now, the second is
Glorifying.
glorifying the Lord. And the devotee who achieved the perfection by glorifying the Lord is
Sukadev Goswami.
Sukadev Goswami. Yeah, he spoke the Bhagavatam 7 days, 7 nights. He didn't say, now enough, I'm tired. without eating, sleeping also. He was speaking Bhagavatam and he was relishing Bhagavatam. And because we are hearing Bhagavatam from the lotus lips of Sukadev Goswami, Bhagavatam has become even more sweeter. Bhagavatam is always sweet, but because we are hearing from Sukadev Goswami, it became more sweeter. Just like a parrot, parrot always, he knows which fruits are the sweetest, the juiciest. So Sukadev Goswami. Bhagavatam is called the fruit of the entire Vedas, the entire tree of the Vedas. Bhagavatam is the juicy fruit of the Vedas. So the third limb is praying to the Lord. And the devotee who achieved perfection was? Akrura.
Akura.
Akrur, yeah. Before he entered Vrindavan, he was offering beautiful prayers to the Lord. He was completely in meditation that he's going to see Krishna, Balaram, he's going to see the Brijbasis. He was completely engrossed in praying and meditating on the Lord, in praying, offering prayers. So he's an acharya for us to teach us how to pray to the Lord. And he achieved perfection by praying. The fourth is?
Remembering the Lord.
Remembering the Lord. And the devotee who is an example of remembering the Lord is?
Prahlada.
Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah, imagine, his own father is trying to kill him by snakes, by tridents, getting him burnt or thrown from the mountain. But he's so absorbed in remembering the Lord. He's not going into a depression or a PTSD or anything with my own father is trying to do this to me, No, he's just so absorbed in remembering the Lord. And then the fifth is
Worshipping the Lord.
Yeah, worshipping the Lord, worshipping the deity. Worshipping the deity, and the devotee who attained perfection is?
Artha Maharaj.
To Maharaj. Yeah. He engaged in elaborate deity worship. Archanam. Deity worship is called Archanam. So hearing is Shravanam. Glorifying Kirtanam. Then praying to the Lord is Vandanam. Remembering the Lord, Smaranam. Worshipping the Lord, Archanam. Then serving the lotus feet of the Lord, that's sixth. So that's Dasyam. And who achieved perfection? By serving the lotus feet of the Lord.
Mahalakshmi.
Yeah, Lakshmi Devi. What is she doing? She's always sitting at the lotus feet of the Lord. We see she's always pressing the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. That's how she could attain perfection, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Pada Sevanam. That's called Pada Sevanam. Seventh is
Personal service.
Yeah, rendering personal service, being a servant to the Lord. Dasyam, serving the Lord, having a mood of service that I want to serve the Lord. I want to please the Lord with my service attitude. And that is the devotee who achieved his perfection is
Hanuman.
Hanuman, yeah. Hanuman, he's like Ram Bhakta, he's renowned all over the universe that he's the best servant of Lord Ramachandra. He is so devoted to Lord Ramachandra. He came as Murari Gupta in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya told him to Murari Gupta that you worship Lord Krishna in the morning. Murari Gupta went and told Lord Chaitanya, I'm going to go and commit suicide. Lord Chaitanya says, why? He said, you told me to worship Lord Krishna, but my heart is attached to Lord Ramachandra. I cannot give that worship up and I cannot follow your instructions. So I'm going to go commit suicide. And Lord Chaitanya told him, you are not able to do it because you are Hanuman yourself. You are completely attached to Lord Ramachandra, the servant of Lord Ramachandra. So Murari Gupta, he came 500 years ago, Hanuman, as Murari Gupta. He was a close, intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna himself. So that's the glories of Hanuman. And then the 8th is
Friendship.
friendship with the Lord. Yeah, being friends with the Lord. 7th was being servant of the Lord. Then 8th is being friend of the Lord. And the friendship, the devotee who is perfected is
Arjuna.
Arjuna. Yeah, such a great friend. Till today we are studying Bhagavad Gita. We are seeing Krishna, because of his love for his friend, he becomes Partha Sarthi. He is riding Arjuna's chariot. He becomes his driver. Why? Because they have this friendship with both Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna loves Krishna in that mood as a friend. So that is Sakyam. And then the 9th is
Surrendering everything.
surrendering everything. And the devotee who achieved perfection is
Maharaja Bali.
Bali Maharaj, Atma Nivedanam. Bali Maharaj, he surrendered everything himself also. Vamandev, after he took the first 2 steps, he covered the entire hellish planets, the entire heavenly planets. So the entire universe he covered by the 2 steps. So where to put the 3rd step? Bali Maharaj told him, put it on my head. He offered himself to Lord Vamandev. And that's how Lord Vamandev became so bound by Bali Maharaj's love for him. He gave the Sutala planet to Bali Maharaj, and he himself became a doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj. He's become like a guard in Sutala planet where Bali Maharaj is ruling. So this is the love between the devotee and the Lord himself. These are the 9 processes of devotional service, and very, 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 very important for us are hearing, chanting, remembering, praying, and worshipping. These are really, really very important for us. Hearing and chanting. If we hear and chant well, we will be able to remember the Lord. Praying to the Lord, worshipping the Lord, being a servant of the Lord. So then reading on.
Actually, the explanation of this mantra and of practical Okay, actually, the explanation of this mantra and of practically all the mantras of the Vedic hymns is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra and properly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the Vedic tree of wisdom. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular mantra is explained in the questions and answers between Maharaja Parikshit and Sukhdev Goswami at the very beginning of their meeting. Hearing and chanting of the science of God is the basic principle of devotional life. The complete Bhagavatam was heard by Maharaj Parikshit and chanted by Sukhdev Goswami. Maharaja Parikshit inquired from Sukhdeva because Sukhdeva was a greater spiritual master than any great yogi or transcendentalist of his time.
So what is the basic principle of devotional service that we are hearing? What is the foundation of devotional service?
And hearing and chanting about the Lord.
Yes, hearing and chanting. That's right. By Bhagavatam, we can see hearing. Parikshit Maharaj heard, chanted. Sukadev Goswami chanted. Hearing and chanting, and they both attain perfection. So they're very important for us to regularly hear and chant. And Parikshit Maharaj, it's not that he's hearing from anyone. It's not that he's just saying, okay, whatever I see on the internet, whatever seems to me of being anything, seems to be spiritual, I'm going to hear. No, he's hearing from Sukadev Goswami. He was very, very sure who is he hearing from. Sukadev Goswami, a great spiritual master coming in the line of disciplic succession. So he is very qualified to speak. And Sukadev Goswami, what is his qualification? He has great eagerness to hear. So both are qualified, the speaker and the listener. Both are qualified. And when both are qualified, then the Krishna Katha becomes very relishable, more relishable. So hearing from the devotees.
Maharaja Parikshit, main question was, what is the duty of every man, specifically at the time of death? Sukdeva Goswami answered, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagwan Ishwaro Hari Shrotava Kirti Tavyascha Smartavyas Chechata Bhyam. Everyone who desires to be free from all anxiety should always hear about, glorify, and remember the personality of Godhead, and who is the supreme director of everything, the extinguisher of all the difficulties and super soul of all living entities. Bhagavatam 2.1.5.
So then, see, Maharaj Parikshit, sorry, I'll just speak. So Maharaj Parikshit, he has only 7 days to live. The snake has bitten him. I'm sorry, he's gotten the curse. The snake is going to bite him in 7 days. So what are we going to do when we know we have 7 days to left, Maharaj Parikshit, what is he doing? He's hearing the Bhagavatam. And what's the question he's asking? What is the duty of every man, specifically at the time of death? So he's asking, what's the duty of everyone? And what's the specific duty of one who's about to die? Now, Maharaj Parikshit, he knew he was going to die in 7 days. So we are all going to die, only we don't know when. Some of us may, most of us don't. So he's asking, what is the duty of every person? And what is Sukadev Goswami saying? That the duty of every person is hearing, chanting, and remembering of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by doing so, one will be free from all anxieties. All the difficulties will be gone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the Paramatma. He is the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Enjoyer, the best friend of everyone. So Sukadev Goswami is saying that it's the duty of everyone to hear, chant, and remember God.
So-called human society is generally engaged at night in sleeping and having sex, and during the daytime in earning as much money as possible, or else in shopping for family maintenance. People have very little time to talk about the personality of the Godhead or to inquire about Him. They have dismissed God's existence in so many ways, primarily by declaring Him to be impersonal, that is, without sense perception. But in the Vedic literature, whether the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, it is declared that the Lord is a sentient being and is supreme over all other living entities. His glorious activities are identical with himself. One should therefore not indulge in hearing and speaking of the rubbish activities of the worldly politicians and so-called big men in society, but should mold his life in such a way that he can engage in godly activities without wasting a second. Shri Isopanishad directs us towards such godly activities.
So Shri Isopanishad is telling us, hear about God, speak about God, remember God. You see, what happens when we are hearing and speaking about God? Our heart gets purified. Our material desires get cleared up. Our consciousness gets cleaned. We can gradually revive our true identity. We can become self-realized. We can become God-realized. But when we are indulging in speaking about any other popular person of this material world, could be, in any field, entertainer or a politician, that does not help us to clean our heart. It may, in fact, help us to continue living here longer and longer. So Isopanishad is saying, hear about the Lord, speak about the Lord. So some people think that Lord has no potency, he has no nothing, no quality, no feature, no form. No, but all the Vedic scriptures, Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all the scriptures declare God is a person. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's a sentient being. He's we living entities. We are individual living beings. We are sentient. Krishna is the supreme sentient being. So God, he's on the absolute platform. His activities, his name, his form are non-different. It's he himself. He himself. So the more we hear about the Lord, the more we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, the more we will become free from this material world.
Unless one is accustomed to devotional practice, what will he remember at the time of death when the body is dislocated? And how can he pray to Almighty Lord to remember his sacrifices? Sacrifices mean denying the interest of the senses. One has to learn this art by employing the senses in the service of the Lord during one's lifetime. One can utilize the result of such practice at the time of death.
So Prabhupada is saying that unless one practices, how can one be expected to perform? Like, for example, somebody is taking part in Olympics. It's not that they say, okay, I've never practiced running before, but it's okay, tomorrow is Olympics, I'm going to go and take part. No, people take years and years of practice for running for those few seconds. Years of practice. Similarly, for the time of death, it's a reality. It's going to come for each and every one of us. So we practice. We begin somewhere at least. We may not be able to perfect it. That's all right, but at least begin somewhere. Like take one tiny step, towards that direction. Engage in devotional service, hearing and chanting about the Lord, remembering the Lord, engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. That becomes a sacrifice. Sacrifice is any activity done for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that sacrifice has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds us and keeps us in this material world. So somewhere we begin. Begin by hearing, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hearing from the devotees, from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And in this way, we can perfect our lives. This is what Isopanishad is directing us towards. They're giving us this idea that proceed in this direction. Any questions or comments?
All clear.
I have a small question.
Yes.
We were discussing about Murari Gupta and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So
Yeah.
I just wanted to know that is it because of him that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed that Sadbhuj roop?
Sadbhuj was, I think, displayed to Ramananda Rai.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was displayed to Murari Gupta, but to Ramananda Rai, Sadbhuj was displayed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think Lord Chaitanya did make him realize that he did show him some form. I'm not sure if he revealed his form as Lord Ramachandra to him.
Yeah, even I thought that. Couldn't recollect though.
Yeah, I was not very sure. That's why I didn't mention it. It's been some time ago that I read Caitaniya Caritamita, so I can't recollect very well now.
Yeah,
So,
that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.